Hello friends, students and parents. Namaskar. After a prolonged delay, the NIRF rankings for 2024 were announced this week. These rankings measure, benchmark and rank colleges, universities and institutions across 16 critical domains. In 2016, when they were started, it was only in 4 domains. These rankings are used by parents and students for deciding on their own college and course options. They're used by counselors when they advise and mentor students. And they're also used by institutions to benchmark themselves against the best and improve themselves. We'll go beyond the surface to explore how colleges and universities are truly measured across these 16 critical domains. This isn't just about numbers. It's about the insights and the processes that make some of the best and a few who game the system to come across as the best. Join us as we question the status quo, challenge the assumptions, and discover what these rankings reveal about the real leaders in academia. The overall, as I told you, the number of categories that are being ranked is across the domain, 16 domains, right from overall to universities, engineering, management, architecture, dental, law, medical, pharmacy, research institutions, agriculture, innovation, colleges, open universities. By the way, the last 3 were added this year, which is open universities. These were added this year. Open universities is one, skills universities is another one, and the state public universities. These 3 were added this particular year. Now, the thing is, how does a ranking happen? You should all know, how does a ranking happen? On what basis are the things ranked? There are 5 broad groups that we should be looking at. One is teaching and learning resources. Teaching and learning resources, which essentially deals with student strength, faculty-student ratio, which means the number of faculty that you have for the number of students that you have. So typically, a good faculty-student ratio is supposed to be, 1 faculty for at least 15 students. Then the faculty quality, which means whether the faculty is PhD faculty or is it a normal master's faculty and so on and so forth. The expenditure per student that the college spends, and the online education and other stuff that have been included now, including, multiple entry and exit, the Indian knowledge systems and so on and so forth. This has a weightage of 30%. And this we call as teaching and learning resources. Then you have research and professional practice. Now, this is a very, very controversial thing because increasingly we have noticed that quite a few private universities have been gamifying this entire research practice. But I'll come to that later. But at this point in time, let's just stick to the fact that 30% of the weightage is for research and practice. The third one is graduation outcomes. This is very, very crucial for the students, but somehow NIRF gives lesser weightage for that because this includes placements and the median salary, which is what students really consider when they're choosing a college or a university. But the weightage is a part of the 20%. In fact, between these two, the weightage is about 10 to 16% in most cases. And in the university category, it's actually 0%. There is no weightage given at all for placement. Whereas 30% weightage is given for the research and publications. Then you actually have inclusivity and outreach, which essentially is talking of how many states the students come from, what is the kind of diversity, gender diversity that the university has, and the scholarships that they give, and so on and so forth. That's got 10%. And the last one, which is a mystery, is perception. How does the industry perceive this particular college, university to be? So all put together, if you see, 30 for teaching and learning resources, 30 for research, 20% for graduation outcomes, 10% for outreach and inclusivity, and 10% for perception. Now, across domains, some of these weightages will vary, and I'll come to that as we move along. Now, this is important for you, right? Let me explain to you certain stuff that is coming out. The top 100 universities in the country, when you look at that, the distribution of the top 100 based on the ranking that were declared yesterday, the central universities were 8 of them. The deemed to be universities, which is the Amrita University, the VIT University, the Manipal University, and so on and so forth, there are 25 of them, right? Then you have deemed to be university public, which is owned by the governments, is 3. The institutions of national importance is 35. What are these INS? All the IITs, all the IIMs, all the ISERs, Indian Institute of Science, all these are called the institutions of national importance. There are 35 of them. The state private university were 5 of them. State public university, which means it's owned by the state governments, is 23 of them. And there is 1 affiliated college, which is based out of Tamil Nadu. So in all, these are the number of colleges that have topped the best university category in the country. right? Now let's come to the overall scores, and this is important so that you understand the range at which you are actually likely to get a good B school or or judge a best university, right? The highest score is 86.42. The average score is 56.75. So if you now see, the average falls down to 30 if you were to compare from the topmost thing, because the lowest is 47. Which means you actually have many more universities and colleges at the lower end of the thing, which is where though the highest is 86.42 and the lowest is 47.43, the average is 56.75. And if you see the median also, it is just 54. So it is very close to the lowest. And that is what I'm trying to suggest, right? Now, why does this happen? Now, this is another thing that's important for you, right? We all talk of how the ranking system works. But one of the things that we've noticed very starkly is that in NIRF, as you keep coming down, at a very narrow range, a lot of universities are filling in. For example, if you look at this particular data, the between 1 and 10 rank, the highest was 86.42 and the 10th rank was 68.53. So the range is about 18 marks between them. The range is 18 marks between them, right? Between 11 and 20, the range is from 67.56 went down to 62.77, which is the range is about 5 marks. But as you come down, it really narrows down to an extent where if you look at it from rank 40 onwards, between 41 and 50, the range is just 0.95, which means if you just look at this 41 to 50, between 54.02 to 54.97, which is 0.95, there are 10 institutions stuck between them, right? So as you keep coming down the ladder, the range is extremely narrow, so much so that if you were to just look at between 41 to 52 up to this part, 91 to 100, right? Between 41 to 50 to 91 to 100, you'll realize that in all, in 7 marks, you have 60 colleges or universities. Just in 7 marks. Whereas in the top range, between 18 marks, you only have 10. And you need to understand this because a lot of people say, sir, someone has got 35 rank and the other college is 37 rank, so should I choose the 35th rank wala? No, the range is so small that you cannot judge. So you cannot distinguish, you cannot discriminate between them. The cluster is what you must look at. The cluster in this particular case is, if you just look at it from 41th rank to the 100th rank, the range is so narrow and so small that one small mistake or one small thing that has fallen and one small thing that's not been, factored in can alter the rank dramatically. So don't judge purely based on the number of the rank, but also look beyond it because there are certain things that matter which the ranking system might not be capturing. So how do we deal with this situation? One of the things that I always say whenever you deal with any ranking, and it's not just about an NIRF, you talk of any ranking, it can be an international ranking or even a Careers360 ranking. You should be looking at the data in a slightly finer way to understand how it fits to your needs. Because NIRF ranking has many issues at this point in time. First of all, NIRF itself doesn't disclose benchmarking numbers for any parameters. Because obviously there is one benchmark that is done and everything is compared against that. Right? It can be placement at a B school. Or it can be a graduation outcome at a engineering college. Or it can be the minimum amount of money that should be spent per student in an engineering college. This benchmarking, when you create a benchmark and then you compare against that benchmark is not disclosed by NIRF. The data accuracy is in question because many institutions submit false data on students' intake, placements, etc. And we've noticed that multiple times over. Many colleges, for example, what they do is if you have an intake of 200, they show only intake of 100 and show placement of 95 because the students that have placed is 95 only. Instead of taking the intake as 200, they take intake as 100. Now, it is not cross-verified because they say only 100 students qualified for placement. So, the total gross intake versus qualified for placement is where they play up. And there are many such things that keep happening. And the colleges are submitting wrong data is something that we know. But having said that, in the existing environment, NIRF has the cleanest of the data and the most objective of the data and possibly the most accurate of the lot that is coming in at this point in time. In fact, other rankings do not have access to this kind of quality of data that NIRF itself has. right? The other part of it, which I earlier discussed, I showed you that within 7 marks, you actually have a massive range of about 60 colleges plugging in. The research weightage is 30%. So just imagine if universities were to manipulate or gamify research, and also exactly come to you of how the universities are gamifying research at some point in time. But research weightage is 30%, and that creates a problem of its own, because the graduation outcome, which is placements and median salary, is lesser weightage as compared to research in all these rankings. Right. Then you actually have, as I said, low weightage for, placement and median salary. For placement, even for a management or engineering college also, the weightage for what is supposed to be a proper good graduation outcome, for which most of the parents and students look for, is about 13% to 16% only, while as the others are taking over about 85% of it. And that creates a problem of its own. And then the standalone aspiring small colleges, they are disadvantaged by the kind of process and the kind of parameters that have been set up by NIRF, because local colleges which are operating very, very well and are placing the students very well, they don't stand a chance in NIRF because of the kind of process and the kind of weightages that are being attributed to the colleges. And lastly, there is a perception score, which is 10 marks. You don't know how this perception score comes. Or, what is told is that they go to employers and survey from them to understand what is the perception for each college. But we have noticed that very, very bad colleges have very good perception scores, and extremely good colleges, like for example, BITS Pilani, has a score of 3.63 out of 10, which we think is extremely wrong, but it happens. So perception score is a mystery because it's perception and there is no objective data to understand how it was done, why it was done, where it was done, and how the score was tabulated. Right. Now, let me take you to the next thing, right? One of the things that I earlier told you is that the smaller colleges don't participate because the process is loaded against them, right? Similarly, some of the specialized universities, they don't participate in NIRF ranking, because again, the process is working against them. For example, if you see the ranking, there is not a single National Institute of Design, NIDs, which are a part of the ranking system. Not a single one. The National Forensic Sciences University, which is a specialized university, is not a part of the ranking. The Chennai Mathematical Institute, which is the best mathematical institute in the country, is not a part of the ranking. The Film and Television Institute of India, which obviously issues diploma and all, but it is not a part of the ranking. Right. The Indian Institute of Mass Communication, which is the best mass communication institution in the country besides MICA, is not a part of the ranking. The Forest Research Institute, which is again another specialized institution, is not a part of the ranking. The Indian Maritime University, which is the best maritime university in the country at this point in time, is not a part of the ranking. The Tata Institute of Fundamental Research is not a part of the ranking. So you actually have, and the list goes on and on. I only listed a few of them here. Some of the best specialized universities or institutions are not participating in this particular ranking because I think the process and the way it is structured, the weightages and all, it doesn't gel well for them to actually participate because they will not stand a chance. And not just that, some of the new liberal universities and some of the new age universities that have come up are also not participating in this ranking because they believe that these rankings are again treating them very unfairly. Like, for example, you look at Azim Premji University, it is not a part of this ranking. Ashoka University, Pandit Deendayal Energy University, which is one of the best, energy universities at one point in time, and now it's expanded its portfolio to launch MBA and BTech and many other things. It's not there. Kriya participated, but it's not a part of the ranking. Flame University, CEPT University in Ahmedabad, OP Jindal University, which is one of the best law universities in the country, is not ranked here because they don't participate. NIT, which is in Nimrana in Rajasthan, is one of the best universities for BTech students and MTech students. It's not a part of it. The Karnataka University, which does on design side of it, not part of it. FMS Delhi, which comes under Delhi University, which is an institute of eminence, right? It doesn't participate in the ranking. And Jamnalal Bajaj Institute, which is based in Bombay, it's a part of Mumbai University, is not a part of the ranking. And again, I've only given you a short list for you to understand that this NIRF ranking misses out on some of the very, very good institutions for different reasons. And the reasons might be justified, but you as a student and parent need to know and understand what are the exceptions or what are the exclusions that NIRF did so that you can actually consider them also Because if you have to make the NIRF ranking list as a comprehensive and complete list, then you'll be missing out on some of the best institutions in the country. Now let's move to the next one. Earlier I talked of research output and how there are concerns about it. Let me explain how the research works. Right. Now, on the blue line that you see is the public universities and how the research has moved over the years. And remember, the NIRF ranking started in 2016, which is here, right? And the competition for NIRF ranking started somewhere here because it was made compulsory, or almost they started looking at giving greater autonomy to colleges which are better ranked in the NIRF ranking, right? So since 2020, the private universities realized that they cannot escape NIRF ranking and start competing aggressively to be a part of the ranking system. The ranking started in 2016, but 2020, the real competition started. Now, in research, you cannot grow overnight. It's a very consistent and perseverant effort. There's a lot of perseverance in terms of research, and universities cannot overnight start creating a lot of research and a lot of citations and a lot of H-index. But the private universities seem to be doing that. Why do I say that? Look at this graph. In 2020, the public universities, the top 10, by the way, we've taken the top 9 public universities versus top 9 private universities at this point in time. They grew from 8,345 to 10,192 over 3 years, which is a typical growth of about 10, 12, 15%. But, right, and that is fair, right? But when you look at private, it grew from 2,199 to 10,775, which is almost a 5x growth. Right? And this is extremely suspicious. And this creates its own problem because I told you the research score is 30 marks, right? And I also told you that within 6 or 7 marks, you actually have 60 colleges being flooded into that whole thing, right? So just imagine a small variation here and how much the rank will jump. And some of the universities are doing that, especially in the private university space. And that will create its own problem because some universities have been growing very consistently, whereas some universities have been showing very, very dramatic jumps in the ranking. And that is because they've started gamifying the research score. How do they do that? There are 4 or 5 ways that they do that. The first thing is they appoint someone who's got a very good research as a distinguished professor, which means that this person is not a full-time faculty who is teaching the students, but is appointed as a distinguished professor so that all the research work that's been done by the gentleman earlier, the credit starts accruing to this university. Or they appoint them as adjunct faculty, right? Or they have professors added multiple affiliations. So you actually have a professor who's working outside of India, but all his research work is included into India because they actually have a co-authorship. So you take a foreign professor, and we've noticed about 10-15 universities where such things happen, where those professors who are not residing in India are teaching somewhere else in India, but their research is being factored into the NIRF for an Indian university because one of their faculty members from the Indian university is a co-author for one of the papers that the foreign professor is doing. And this keeps happening. The co-authors is a big racket. The professors added multiple affiliations is a big racket. And this keeps happening. So I call them mercenary professors. Mercenary research faculty. And these people, what they do is they sit outside of India, partner with an Indian university which is paying them a lot of money, make one of the faculty members a co-author, or become an adjunct faculty or a distinguished professor or something like that. They don't even visit the university for once where the student benefits out of their knowledge. But all the research that they do sitting there, by just tagging a name, this university starts getting a higher rank. And that is happening across the board. And we noticed this, and that's where you see there is a consistency amongst the way the public universities have done. But look at this growth for private universities. This has happened in 5x terms because the research is being gamified. Third thing, which I told you earlier, in management domain. In management domain, there's a big concern because in management domain, it's not just research, but even case studies that work. Research works a lot more in scientific community. Of course, there is within management also there is a lot of research that happens, but this particular ranking completely ignores the case studies that are being created at the B schools, and that you will see as I move along in terms of data of how it is impacting the ranking. Now, let me explain how the foreign authors are actually influencing and also impacting the rankings of some of the Indian universities. For that, we need to understand what I've done is I've set up a set of about 10 foreign authors and how they're affiliated to the Indian universities. Look at it this way. The first thing that you must look at is the H index. H index essentially means that the foreign author is very, very reputed and credible and is very well cited. And he's also publishing on the best, research publications around the world. So the ranking is here for this gentleman is 119, 91, 69, 149, 145. So the H index of these authors is extremely good. They work in foreign universities. They don't come to India. They don't teach the students in India. They might not have even engaged with any student in India. We in fact wrote to all these authors asking them for some clarifications, but none of them responded yet. If they respond, we're going to bring it back to you very soon. But when we wrote to them and asked them what is the kind of affiliation that they have with the Indian university, there has been complete silence for the last 1 week since we wrote to them. But these authors, one of them works in Kingsford University, Scotland's Rural College, Asia University, Sunway University, and it keeps going on. None of them is an Indian university. They live in their basic faculty, full-time work is in Saudi Arabia, United Kingdom, Taiwan, Malaysia, Brazil, Chile, Jordan, South Korea, Spain, and Iran. But when you look at the NIRF ranking and you look at the research component, which has a weightage of 30, mind you, 30, right? This gentleman is associated with the 4 universities within India and all are private and all are competing. The person who is from United Kingdom is again associated with 4 universities, private universities in India. This gentleman from Taiwan is again with 4 people. So all these authors have lent their name and also co-opted a co-author for the research work that they've done because they actually have very, very high H index. Their research work is being cited very well, but one of the co-authors is from one of the private universities in India. I'm not for one moment saying that all this is wrong, but when you actually have the same gentleman collaborating with 4 or 5 private universities at the same time, and also ensuring that the research work that he does is being cited and being attributed to the Indian university, because of which the score or research quotient of the Indian university goes up, then it starts influencing or impacting the Indian rankings. And that very clearly is happening. As I told you, we've written to all these people. No one responded yet. I'm not for one moment saying that everything is wrong. There might be some which are genuine collaborations and co-authorships that are happening. But when you look at it, and when you look at each of them collaborating with 4, 5, 6 universities in India, then it leads to a lot of suspicion. And that is what we've been flagging with all agencies till now. And I do hope that at some point in time, we'll be able to find a solution to understand and ensure that only the genuine co-authorship and genuine research collaborations are impacting Indian rankings and not something that is done because you actually have an agreement to sign and money to be transferred, right? Now, I'll just show you. Earlier, I talked of how in management domain, there is a serious problem. Look at this particular thing. The headline here is the infiltration of IITs and NITs in management ranking, right? This is the rank that you have. In management domain, you would always assume that, it will be IIMs and those kind of things. But look at it. You have IIT Delhi at rank 3, right? You have IIT Bombay at rank 10. In MBA, remember, it's not for BTech that we're talking of. We're talking of the MBA offered in these institutions. IIT Madras has got 16th rank. IIT Roorkee has got 18th rank. IIT Kharagpur at 19th, and so on and so forth. You can actually see this whole thing, right? Now, if they're so good, they should be filling up all the seats. Look at, for example, NIT Warangal, which is ranked 100, right? The sanctioned intake was 77. The sanctioned intake was 77. The admitted students were just 26. It was not sought after. So only 26 students actually took it. The admitted percentage is just 33%. Now, with such a small class strength, from 26 students who are admitted, they placed 23 students at 7.2 lakh, but they're ranked in the top 100 in the country. You go to NIT Calicut, the same thing. 60 students is the sanction intake, only 42 were admitted, 41 were placed and they were ranked 76. B schools focus more on case studies. Of course, many of them focus on research also, but they also focus on case studies. But that is being ignored. And what it means is this. What we did was, in this particular case, we actually listed out the research score that each of these universities have got out of a total of 100, which will be recalibrated to 30. Remember that, right? So the highest, research score that institutions have in the management category, IIT Delhi tops it with 78.39. So obviously, when it gets 78.39 at a 30% weightage, you're actually dealing with a massive number. You're dealing with about 23, 24 marks just for IIT Delhi only on research, which may or may not be relevant for the students who are thinking of placement. And then you look at IIT. So this is an IIT. This also is IIT Kharagpur, IIT Bombay, right? Indian Institute of Management Mumbai was earlier NIT, and that's why they also have a better research score. IIT Roorkee, and then MNIT. So you actually have many of these IITs sneaking into the ranking because they have a higher research score, and these are the research score that they had. But if you look at B schools and one of the placement parameters, here is the thing. You have IIM Mumbai. The placement is, so here we are, ranking institutions based on the highest research score, and these are top 10. But you turn this around and say, can you tell me the top 10 in terms of placements? Here you have IIM Mumbai 99.41, IIM Calcutta, IIM Ahmedabad, SPJ, IIM Bangalore, Xavier's, IIM Lucknow, MDI, IIM Shillong, and IIM Kozhikode. You don't have a single IIT here, right? Here there is no IIT. And that is the thing. The moment you get down to graduation outcome, where you actually talk of placements and placement percentages and the median salary, there is not a single IIT that figures in the top 10. But when you deal with just research, most of the IITs sneak in. And these, when you actually deal with that situation, some of these IITs are infiltrating into the ranking system and are becoming 3 and 4. Like, for example, it is sad to say, I'll give you a number here. You look at IIT Delhi here. IIT Delhi is ranked better than IIM Calcutta, which for me is wrong. Given an option between choosing IIT Delhi versus IIM Calcutta, I will always choose IIM Calcutta. It's a pure management institution, right? But why does it happen? Because the research score here is 78.39 for IIT Delhi, whereas the research score for IIM Calcutta is 48.09. But you turn this around and look at the salary and all. The salary at IIM Calcutta average is 33.67, whereas for IIT Delhi it's 24.45. So the essential thing that I'm telling you is that while the rankings are important, please look at the finer details of how the rankings have come, and only then you'll be able to decide. For you to decide based on this ranking that I'll put my child in IIT Delhi instead of IIM Calcutta would be a wrong move at this point in time, right? And not just that, the management ranking is completely going wrong is my perception, because you have IRMA rank 49. When you look at the colleges above this IRMA, you will be ashamed of the whole thing. Or TAPMI, TAPI Institute of Management, which is in Mangalore, Manipal, is one of the best institutions around. They place the students 98-100% at 13.5 lakh rupees. It is ranked 58. The NIAM, which is based in Hyderabad, 100% placement, ranked 96. Right, and so on and so forth. So we actually see that. I saw that also for IMI in Delhi, where IMI has been ranked very, very low, but it deserves far better place than what's been ranked. So you must be very careful about how you use the ranking. The other thing that I want to show you is this part of it. That again, I told you that research and creates a problem of its own. The other thing is the smaller colleges are not getting what is due. They're not getting a fair deal. For example, you look at one of the best colleges in the country is this Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University, right? Its rank band at this point in time is 151 to 200. Their median salary is 23.636 lakhs and it's 100% placed. But they're not in the top 100 colleges. Right? You go down to another one, which is Dhirubhai Ambani Institute of Technology. Right? This is in Gandhinagar in Gujarat. The rank bank is 201 to 300. Very, very far away. Their thing is 17.5 lakh is the median salary and 100% placed. The list keeps going on. The LNM Institute of Information Technology, Jaipur, 13.32 lakh. Army Institute of Technology, Pune, 12.5 lakh. And look at the kind of placement that they have, 100%, 100%, 93%, 84%, 91%. But these kind of smaller colleges, which are catering to a niche segment in a local area, in a regional area, in a state, are not finding place in the ranking because obviously the process and the methodology and the weightages that are being attributed seem to be somewhere going wrong. And my request to NIRF and the government of India is, please do a ranking that students completely trust blindly. I understand there's a methodology that you must come up with. I understand that there has to be a process that you will come up with. But at the same time, if it is ignoring such big, good institutions and ranking things, institutions based on the scale and size, then we are doing something wrong because we're leading the student to a bad university or not a right college or a university for them. And that blame, that guilt is on us. Now, I'll also give you one particular case study which is important for us. BITS Pilani. All of you would know that, after the first 4, 5, 6 IITs, if you want to prefer a college that you want to put your child in, it is BITS Pilani. It's Birla Institute of Technology in Pilani. But BITS Pilani this year is ranked 20th. 20th. I would rank it, after the first 4, 5 IITs, I'll always go for a BITS Pilani, right? And it's got the 9th best score in graduation outcome in top 100. And what is graduation outcome? It's the placements. I talked of placement. The placement at BITS Pilani is very, very good. And that's why it gets the 9th best score across all. But overall, you actually have the 20th rank. Right? Now, what is the median salary at BITS Pilani? 19 lakhs. What is the placement percentage? 98%. Let me tell you, even in IIT Delhi and all, you don't have 100, in some of the core engineering, you actually have 40, 50, 60% placements. But BITS Pilani gets 98% across all its domains, across all its branches. The average median salary of 19 institutions ranked above BITS Pilani is 16.5 lakh. So what we did was, we told you that BITS Pilani is ranked 20th. We took the average of the 19 institutions that are ranked above it. There, the average salary is 16.5 lakhs. The placement percentage for BITS is 98%, for others it's 91%. And why does it happen? Because the research score of BITS Pilani is 15.75 out of a possible 30. And most importantly, the perception is 3.63 out of a possible 10. It is shocking for me that an institution which is so old, which has got great legacy, which has performed consistently, is getting such a low perception score. But you don't know how the perception score comes in, so you don't know how to even challenge it. Just for comparison, let me give you the IIT Hyderabad, the perception score is 6.5 out of the 10, whereas BITS Pilani has got 3.63 out of 10. And these things are creating a big problem. So my thing is simple. At this point in time, the NIRF rankings are declared. Look at the ranking, look at the data. The data is very, very crucial for you, so please look at it with a finer tooth comb. But when you're taking a decision, don't just go by what number of the ranking it is, because the parameters might not be suitable for you. The weightages that are being given might not be the right things for you. And the domain for which the ranking is done also might not be relevant. If you're joining a pharmacy college, look for the pharmacy college ranking, and within that also look at the data with a fine-tuned comb. If you're joining only a management institution, don't look at the overall university ranking and say, oh, this is the best university. If you're joining management, you will only look at the ranking of management. And that is crucial for you. Rankings are very important for you, right? They show you the true colors of the university. But if you don't understand how the rankings have been arrived at, the weightages, the parameters, and how the data was collected and collated, then it might mislead you to a wrong college or wrong choice, and that might be very harmful for you. So please use the rankings very carefully, but at the same time, please look at the data, and that will actually possibly lead you to the better college for yourself. Thank you so much. Namaskar.